today we're going to be taking a look at Metal Gear Solid Survive, which, as you may or may not know, is the latest in the series of Metal Gear Solid. Now, this one does veer off course quite a lot from what the usual gameplay mechanics are, but it depends really what you're kind of expecting from the game. Now, if you read a lot of review sites, a lot seem to vary between one and the other. Some seem to like it, some seem to hate it, and a lot seem to focus down on the fact that it's the first Metal Gear Solid game without Kojima. Now, I won't get into it too much because I don't want to ever get into politics on this site. Basically, Kojima was the mastermind behind Metal Gear Solid in the first place. He's known for being a bit eccentric and his plots are completely batshit crazy, but he is a very good mastermind. That being said, Konami got sick of his crap. I think basically over the years he's probably been a bit of a prima donna, which has kind of been covered up a little bit because of who he was. But I can imagine him. I do think he's brilliant, but he probably is a nightmare to work with. And I think largely because he went massively over budget with Metal Gear Solid 5, I think they just came to a head, and then Konami reacted badly and have sacked him. So this is the first time a Metal Gear Solid game has been done without him heading it. Which, it depends really. I mean, you can take sides or whatever if you want to, but I can kind of see it from both. I know I love Kojima to death, but I think he does get kind of a free pass because of who he is. And Metal Gear Solid 5, although it's one of my favourite games, if you play it, you know he's an egotistical fucking maniac, pardon language. Because literally after every mission, you get the credit sequence, and it's Hideo Kojima, directed by Hideo Kojima. And when you've got 50, 60 bleeding missions in it, every 5 minutes you're seeing his name in the game. And that did my head in. It's probably done to put two fingers up at people, but I don't know, that really did my head in. And I think there's probably, if he's got kind of that behaviour with a full release game, I don't know what he probably was like behind the scenes. Right, I'm going to drop this now because I don't want to get into politics and arguing about this. Now, Metal Gear Solid Survive. If you know what the game, the hints in the title, Survive, is basically Metal Gear Solid 5 with the plot and everything stripped out, and it's purely the game opens up with you getting dragged into another dimension, which is the world that it is, just obviously completely and utterly screwed up by these infected. Now, there is a bit of a plot with it. You do get a plot at the beginning, and you do get quite a lot of plot at the end, where there's a few twists and turns, and it does explain some things. But if you played Metal Gear Solid 5, it's probably a good basis to kind of what to expect with this one. There are plot elements dotted throughout the game, and you do get the odd voice call, which is all just kind of like the old days where it's like through the codec, just conversations like that. So you do get them peppered throughout the game, but largely the most plots at the beginning and the end, and the rest is just do what you want. Now, I think personally I actually really enjoyed the game. It took a bit of getting used to because I think it's geared, the survival elements are kind of hard. You do seem to run out of water and food far too quick really, which it's alright later on, but at the beginning you seem to really struggle, because you constantly have to be finding empty bottles, filling it with water. Then if you drink the dirty water, you can potentially get a stomach infection, which you then need to take drugs for. It feels like a proper struggle to survive at the beginning, and I'm assuming that's probably what he was aiming for. Later on, when you build up your base and you can kind of have water purification plants and actually grow your own crops and everything, it becomes less of an issue. And to be honest, later on, I stopped even noticing. I just drank a ton of water and ate a lot of food before I set off on a mission. I just didn't even think about it again. It's just the first hour or two are kind of hard. And also there's another element in it which I've not actually filmed on here, which is really stupid of me. There'll be smoke clouds covering large parts of the map, which you need an oxygen tank to actually go into, and then that's another resource that counts down as you're in the game. You can fill up the oxygen tank by using some XP. I can't remember what it's called, like Kuban crystals or something, which you use to level up. Let's see, well, as I'm killing things, you'll see it pop up that I'm getting it. As you're running about, you can kind of fill up your oxygen tank if you get desperate, but the more you do it, the higher the price gets. So towards it, if you've been out way too long, it costs thousands to fill it up. So again, it's mainly resource management. I didn't like it at the beginning, but I kind of got you. Once you get into the swing of how it works, I really found it fun and got into it. And the combat, the engine, the Fox engine is absolutely amazing. Sadly, they didn't do that much with it because it seems to be largely. You do get to another like a foresty area a bit towards the end of the game, really, but it's largely this whole desert, which okay, it's boring, but it kind of does fit in with the whole. It's another dimension that's been completely destroyed by this virus, and basically they eat and destroy everything. So it kind of fits plot-wise. Also, another thing to mention about the plot, it annoyed me as I was playing it because I thought the timeline was off and some things were where they shouldn't be, and like Mother Base existed where it shouldn't be, and then later on there's something else that appears and I think, well, that doesn't fit in the timeline. By the end it kind of all does tie together and it makes sense, so don't get too annoyed with the plot thinking, oh, some idiots just made it and they've just got the plot wrong. It makes sense, just stick with it. Well, it makes sense as in terms of a Metal Gear Solid game makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, it's as long as you're not going into it expecting like a full-on plot thing and you just wanted a good survival game. The best way to look at it, it's a survival game with Metal Gear Solid elements rather than a Metal Gear Solid game with survival elements. The entire game is built entirely around the survival area, the survival gameplay. Like I said before, base building, you run around, you can grab and collect all sorts of things and you just bring it back to your base and you can build like tents for, because you can find random NPCs that'll help you. Basically you'll have mercenaries that you can then send out on missions for you to get more material, and you can probably build up the base camp. You can have mortars, you can have machine gun emplacements. So I actually enjoyed the base building element of it, and it's cool when there's actually an event and you get attacked by wave after wave after wave and you really have to work your ass off to actually survive it. It's not an easy game, because I played this game entirely solo before I finished it. I've only now just started delving into the multiplayer. So it took about just under 30 hours to do the solo gameplay, and that's without much grinding and everything. I mean, there's tons of the map I still haven't uncovered, which I'm going to go back and do now. I just want to see how it all ended. One tip I will say is get the bow and arrow. As soon as you can make one of them, just get it, because I use that more than any other weapon in the game. Basically, you fire an arrow. Every time you kill something, you can go and collect your arrow. So, with obviously being a survival game, you can keep reusing the same ammunition over and over and over again. You do get pistols, rifles, shotguns, everything, but you have to keep crafting every single bullet, and you think, oh yeah, I've got tons of bullets, but you have one big fight and then you're down to square one again, and you're out again. So I use my guns really as backup, because otherwise you have to go grinding, crafting and all that crap between missions, and I couldn't be bothered. So I just used my arrows, collected them. Maybe if I made like 60 out of one big fight, and maybe lose 10 to 15 of them during the fight, because I can't find them, I can't remember. But other than that, you could literally pick them up. All this footage is taken from the very last, towards the very end of the game, but I just wanted to show you what the combat largely looks like, because this is what you'll be doing more often than not. Because when you're out in the world, you can kind of creep around, you can backstab them and stealth. But this is what, on the general whole of it, this is what the combat will be like. And this is the part I found the most fun, where you're just fighting off waves. You can build fence. You have to craft things in your base, and then you can put them out in the real world. Like, say, you can craft fences that you can then put down, or barricades with sticks and pikes on. So you can then craft them, put them out in the world. So when you get a defense point, because you can find teleporters to skip parts of the world, so you don't have to keep running there. But when you turn it on for the first time, you have to defend it for like 4 or 5 minutes or something. But you get swarmed, so you have to like defend certain points with fences and everything. And again, I really like that, and I like you could get further and further and further into the world. And there's tons of crafting and tons of unlocking to do. Now, the multiplayer seems to be okay. To be honest, I kind of prefer playing on my own, these kind of things. If I had any friends that actually had it, I can imagine it being a lot more fun. But I hate it when I'm online with people that don't use microphones and I can't coordinate, and I think eventually, once it dies down a bit and it's just a hardcore community that's left, I think it will be good. But I've been on a couple of times, it's just people pissing about and it annoys me. I'd rather just yes, it's a game and it's fun, I just want to work through it and get the most loot I can, which sounds really crap, doesn't it, rather than have fun. But yeah, I just think definitely if you're going to play it solo, I'd give it a go. And to be honest, just make your own mind up with the game. just don't come into it expecting a massive plot and expect to struggle. I'd say it's like on a par at the beginning with Bleeding Dark Souls. The amount you struggle at the beginning is really, really hard. But as you get even just an hour or two into it and you start getting to grips with how it works and how how to come back. Say if you kill an animal, you have to skin it, then come back, then cook the meat, then you can actually eat the meat. If you eat it raw, you can potentially get another disease. And it's all stupid things like this. It's easy once you know what you're doing, but at the beginning it's like, holy shit. Okay, just you seem to get swamped with things. And now the negatives I'll end with. Yes, there's been a lot of things said about the microtransactions. And you kind of have to buy a second character slot if you want it. To be honest, I'm never ever going to use a second character slot, so it doesn't bother me. And I can kind of, not that I condone it, I can kind of understand because it's a lower budget game release. It wasn't full cost when it came out. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I just think some people are getting way too carried away. They'll see one thing that they don't like and then ruin the entire game. It's just, if you're okay with just using one character without having to pay for anything else, then just do it. I think the idea was behind each character, I think, apparently shares resources. I've not tested it, so it can technically make the game easier, but I've not tested that, so just take it with a pinch of salt. And there's just a couple of other unlocks in the game, really, that you can do. Like, you can unlock more squads to send out at once on missions if you want to, but again, that doesn't really matter. I only ever had one squad anyway, so it don't make any bleeding difference. So while the microtransactions are in there, I think people are getting a bit too carried away with it and letting it destroy a game. Because I don't mind, as long as it's not too mental, it's fine. So yeah, hopefully it's answered some questions. If you've got any other questions that I've not covered in here, please just drop me a comment or something. I'll try and get back as soon as I can. But yeah, I finished it and I want to keep playing it. Now I want to kind of build up my base even more. Not entirely sure why, I just really like doing it. So I don't think it's as bad as people are making out. Let's just hope they've made enough money off this to warrant making another game in the series, because I want them to carry on plot-wise and actually get to the whole big boss Venom Snake and Solid Snake thing at some point before I die of old age. Stop introducing more bastard snakes, for Christ's sakes, and just finish it. But we shall see. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys, and I shall see you next time. Goodbye.